Time now for the season premiere of the Connor Pay Show, the BYU offensive lineman. And now team captain talks about his being voted by his peers as one of the leaders for the BYU football program this fall. We also get into Sam Houston, the season opener, and get to know Connor just a little bit better in our season premiere of this special edition of the Locked On Cougars podcast.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, your resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Thank you to all of you who are everydayers with us right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your original daily podcast focused on the BYU football and basketball programs, even beyond that, just BYU Cougars in general. And today's show is brought to you by our title sponsor over at GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, time now to talk with the man we introduced in the open. He is BYU center/guard Connor Pay, recently named team captain as well. Connor, how are you?
Good. I'm doing good, Jake. Thanks for having me on, man. This is fun.
Yeah, excited to have you on all season long, obviously, and get your thoughts on all things BYU. But I guess we'll start here. We learned earlier this week that you were named team captain along with 7 of your teammates. There were 10 others who were named co-captains on this squad. But give us kind of your overall feelings after being voted by one of your, by one of your teammates, by all of your teammates as a team captain.
You know, that's a special one. You know, I found that out today in our team meeting, and it was a special moment for me. You know, when they bring up the graphic, hey, these are the captains for this year, just because you know that the people that you know you go to battle with every day, and that you're one of the people they want you to be led by when you go out to a game on Saturday, and when you know, when the going gets intense and we're trying to win a game, you know, that you're one of the guys they want to turn to. And, you know, that's a special feeling, you know, as someone who's been around great leaders and has had the chance to vote for players that I've looked up to, you know, to have been voted that by my friends is a special thing.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were a co-captain a year ago, and there are 10 others who have been given that honor. What is the biggest distinction between a co-captain and a captain for the BYU football program?
Not a lot. I think it's, as far as I understand it, mainly just the number of votes, right? The top 8 guys are the ones who are named captains, and then the other guys that got a substantial amount of votes make up the co-captains and what we call the leadership council. And so when things are going on with the team or changes need to be made, check-ins with Kalani, you know, those are kind of the guys that come together and, you know, make the decisions and help make changes. I mean, obviously Kalani has the ultimate say, but he comes to us and wants it to be a player-led program. And so those co-captains can kind of be a way we can reach out to everybody on the team. And keep, you know, kind of keep our finger on the pulse of our teammates and make sure we know what they need and know what they think we can do to make the program better or more efficient. And so I think that's the biggest distinction is just kind of A, the votes, and then B, those co-captains, kind of the guys that help us branch out as far as we can on the team, because it's hard for 8 guys or 4 guys or however many team captains you have to know what's going on with everybody, with every position group all the time. And so you kind of have those guys to help give you more feedback and so you can make more educated decisions.
Now, you obviously have been the leader of this program. You were a co-captain a year ago, and you made some comments, I believe during spring ball, that you felt like last year that some teammates of yours quit on the team. I think it was the terminology you used. And you mentioned the fact that it can be hard for 4 or 8 or even the 18 guys here that are captains and co-captains to keep tabs on everything. What is your confidence level that you guys this year will be able to keep guys engaged and avoid a similar circumstance to what happened last season?
I think in that regard, my confidence is really high. Because, we have this whole team full of transfers who really want to be here.
Mhm.
They had options to go other places, and they chose to come here. And for a lot of them, this is their last shot. This is their redshirt seniors or their graduate transfers. They came here, at least for the guys who have played a lot. They came here for their last chance to make a push for the NFL. And that requires winning games and being a great team. And I think also being in a conference now, being part of the Big 12 and having a conference championship to strive for, I think that is something that'll definitely help keep everybody engaged. Because if we're being honest, being independent is challenging when you drop that first or second game, right? Because then at that point, it's like you got to play damn near perfect to get a chance at a New Year's Six Bowl or something bigger than that. You can get away with one, maybe. But then after that, once you lose game number 2, it's kind of like, man, we're going to go to some bowl game that we don't feel like we should be at, or that we feel like we could have done better, where it's just not that way. When you're in a conference, you can watch the standings move every week, and a lot can change week to week on where you're at and what you have to buy. There's something to play for every single week. And so I think both of those aspects will help help us avoid, having history repeat itself a little bit with kind of that 4-game lull we had last year. And I think a lot of the leaders on the team now, we went through that last year. We know the warning signs we've seen. We know the red flags now to see something like that coming, and we can put a stop to it.
Now, obviously, you mentioned you guys are members of the Big 12 Conference. This has been coming for 2 years. That official announcement came September 10th of 2021, the day before you guys did beat Utah that season. But it'll have been like 720 some odd days when you guys take the state on Saturday night as officially as members of the Big 12 Conference. How big of a deal is that in your mind?
I think it's a huge deal. I mean, there's only one team that gets to be the inaugural team in the Big 12 for BYU football. And, we have the privilege of being a part of that. So I think nobody's taking it lightly. I think everyone understands the magnitude of, that being finally moved into a conference and to receive that level of status, I guess you could say, that we felt like in terms of performance we've had for a number of years now, for a long time. We've been a competitive program for a lot of years, but you've never had that marker, that distinction in terms of conference affiliation, in terms of money, and so I think it's special to be a part of that for the first time. BYU's been working towards this since their inception, and so to be a part of it is a really special thing. It's really cool.
All right, I want to talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, the debut against Sam Houston State. We'll get to that in just a moment. I do need to get a word in quick on our friends over at GameTime. We mentioned them in the open of today's show, but if you guys are out there and you want to go to any type of sporting event, no matter what it is, whether it's a sporting event like BYU football, BYU basketball, you want to go to a big concert, a theater, if your significant other is a big theater fan, they've got it all for you guys with our friends at GameTime. The best part is you can buy tickets to your favorite events, and it shouldn't be stressful for you guys. It should actually be enjoyable. You can get ready and get hyped for the fun that you're going to have. The best part about using GameTime is it has flash deals and last minute tickets. They're easy to find, and they can buy the tickets for every type of event in your area. Best part is it has images of the views from the seat you'll be sitting in, so you know exactly what to expect when you show up to the venue. And at the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, even job loss protection, all built in via our friends at GameTime. So forget planning in months in advance. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, and they can get you guys taken care of in literally minutes. Get images of the seats before you buy once again, and then you get your tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you're set, and they're sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email to find those tickets. Snag the tickets that you want without the stress with our friends over at GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege right now for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Now, download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars a part of your day. Thank you for making it your first listen of the day, everybody out there. This is the debut edition of the Connor Pay Show right here on Locked On Cougars. And Connor, you talked a little bit about the Big 12 there, just barely, and how big of a deal it is for you guys to be playing in this game against Sam Houston State. I want to get your thoughts in terms of Sam Houston. They may not be the biggest name opponent, but it is this home opener. It's the season opener for the Cougars. How excited are you to be out under the lights at LaVell Edwards Stadium on Saturday night?
Oh, very excited. I mean, it's been building to this for months, right? You spend a whole off season, spend a whole training camp hitting the same people every single day, and you get so sick of it. Like you just want to hit somebody else, and you want to play in front of fans again. And so it's really exciting. And Sam Houston's a good team. They're a good team. They're making the transition from FCS to FBS. And they redshirted a lot of players last year in preparation for this move. And so the more tape I watch, the more I realize that this is a talented defense that we're going to be playing against. And at least statistically, they were one of the top FCS defenses in the country last year. And so they do some really good things. And so, I think it's going to be a really good game for us to, just put to the test everything we've worked on in camp as an offense. And so I couldn't be more excited for Saturday.
Now, in terms of training camp itself, how do you feel the team just overall performed? Do you feel like you guys got the work in you needed to? How did you evaluate camp from your perspective?
I thought it was really good. I think in a lot of ways, the training camp felt like it did in 2020. Just a really, really high level of competition. Some days the offense won, some days the defense won. And I think that's a good sign. If you have one side of the ball that's just dominating throughout the entire camp, that probably isn't the best sign for the other side of the ball. But it's definitely the most physical camp that I've been a part of, and which has been really positive as well. And I think, just the intensity and the understanding that we're expected to perform at a higher level now, and we're playing at a different level of college football than we have in the past, at least on a more consistent basis. I think that's a clear understanding that everyone has, and I think it affected the way they prepared and trained in training camp. Practice was hard, practice was intense, and it was good. There were guys that were playing at a level I've been with them for 3 years, and I haven't seen them play like that before. And so I think it's taken our team to a higher level. And I think training camp was great also because of the amount of new faces we have. The 30-something transfers we have on our team, which is a ton, which a lot of them are expected to be contributors. It takes time for a team to gel. And I think that we gelled really quickly. And that training camp was really big. And, getting everybody together, getting everyone on the same page. And, we're going to keep building up into this first game. And then week by week as the season goes on, trying to get a little bit better each week. So.
Now, obviously, you mentioned Sam Houston. You evaluate them. You think they're a pretty good defense. They're led by two pretty good linebackers based on my research. And you mentioned the fact they redshirted a lot of these guys. They seem like a team that is really going to be, I think, surprising for a lot of Cougar fans, just in terms of they expect a FCS team coming up to the FBS level to struggle. But this is a program that won a national title just 2 years ago. So they've got a championship pedigree. And I would imagine that you would agree with my assessment that they're coming in here expecting to spring an upset.
Of course. And I mean, if you're a player on that team, you can't be thinking any other way, or you for sure are going to lose. You can't prepare to lose. They're preparing to come in here and win. And, obviously we're not going to let that happen. But, I mean, this is for them, this is a huge deal. I mean, if I think about it in their shoes, this is their first game as an FBS program. As a Division I school. Like, you think of it almost like us going to the Big 12, right? It's like this big step up for them. And so they're they want to come out with a bang. And, they get a chance to come to one of the most scenic venues in college football, to a program with great tradition, and try to spring an upset, And so I think that's for sure what's on their minds, and that's what they're preparing for. And they have good players. they've been really high on their defense throughout training. Just in the comments that I've seen, they're really happy with their front seven, with how talented they are. So we're going to have our hands full on Saturday. It's a fun game. It's going to be back and forth, I'm sure, a little bit.
Now, this is a conversation that pops up from time to time when teams come from lower elevations like Texas, where it's closer to sea level, and then come up to play in Utah or one of the mountainous country, and the elevation factor. In your experience playing against other teams, do they really get affected by the elevation as much as some might think they do?
I think it definitely plays a little bit of a role. I think there is something to be said, though, when you start playing. You kind of get, after the first or second series, you kind of get your second wind a little bit, and it's like you're just playing ball at the point. You think of being tired because you're just not, and you just play the rest of the game. But I think when you get into those third and fourth quarters, where just the air has been a little thinner, they're breathing a little bit less oxygen than they're used to for 2 or 3 hours of playing. I think that it definitely can maybe wear a team out a little bit quicker than maybe if they were playing back in Texas. So, but I mean, I don't know if it makes a huge difference in terms of performance, but maybe they're just getting tired 1 or 2 plays sooner than they normally would. I don't know if it's so drastic that it's like, oh my gosh, we're dying by the fourth quarter, we can't finish this game. I don't think it's anything like that. But I think there's probably a little bit of a difference for sure. Same thing as us going to play somewhere super humid. Like warming up for that USF game last year when it was really sunny and it was like 90, 94, and before the rain delay, and I'm out there like, oh my gosh, like this heat and this humidity, like I'm dying out here. And then thankfully we had the rain delay, and the rain cooled it down. It was overcast the rest of the game, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But, everywhere has its elements that you kind of just have to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. I do remember seeing some of the conditions of that U.S. My kid, and it did look quite steamy down there in Tampa. And I'm sure that'll be a conversation for you guys coming up this year, because you're going to be traveling to some of these warmer locales. You'll be going to Texas and Austin. I was at the last game that BYU played in Austin when Taysom Hill ran all over the Longhorns. And I got to tell you, Connor, that's one of the just hottest in terms of overall heat I have ever attended in my entire life. I'm not joking when I say this. I've got 3 friends that can corroborate this. I drank 2 full gallons of water that day alone. It was insane. And I wasn't even playing the game. I was sitting in the stands watching this all go down. So it's crazy environment. There's no doubt about that. One other thing real quick, just looking ahead to the season for you guys as a whole, in terms of you guys, do you guys have like goals you guys put on a board? Like, how do you guys go about setting team goals?
Well, I think we kind of have the standard ones that, we have every year. Protecting Lavelle's house is one of the big ones. Right? We want to win at home. And, there's win the rivalries, right? That was another big one too, which we'll get to continue a little bit more now with Utah joining us next year. And, I think in terms, our offices they have been getting redone. And so a lot of the stuff that's normally on the wall isn't there anymore. And so it's like, it's there, but it's just like, we got to wait till they finish this, or they're going to put chairs here, do some other crap. And then they'll put the stuff back on the wall. And it's like, okay. But I think everyone, understands that the goal is to win. And above all else, we want to play to the best of our ability and win, and we want to compete for a conference championship. If we go in with any other mindset other than that, then why are we even in the Big 12? What's the point?
How realistic do you think it is for you guys to compete for a championship year one? Do you think you can do it?
Yeah, of course. And I think it just requires a great level of discipline and consistency. To be able to take it 1 week at a time and just play to the best of our ability each week. And if we can do that, and then let the cards fall where they may.
All right. I want to do some getting to know you stuff. I also have a couple more questions just about the game this week we'll get to here in just a moment. Before we do that, though,
Sure.
do need to get a word in on our friends over at UCCU. Of course, Utah Community Credit Union has been working on this for months now. They have a new thing called Learn and Earn. The UCCU mobile banking app is paying your entire family to learn about money. Kids look to parents to become financially literate. Parents don't always know the answers. Learn and Earn breaks down financial topics into fun, bite-sized educational games, which have quizzes and trivia attached to them. And every time a family member completes a topic, they earn points that accrue and can be redeemed for gift cards to stores like Amazon, Apple, Sephora, Walmart, Nike, and many, many more. There's age-appropriate content for every member of the family who can compete against one another and track their progress on leaderboards as well. Learn and Earn is inside the UCCU mobile banking app, so play it anytime, anywhere. The more you play, the more you earn, and the more you learn, the more you earn. Learn and Earn, part of UCCU's award-winning Be Money Smart youth banking program, helping kids, teens, and parents have fun while becoming more financially literate together. It's all courtesy of your friends at UCCU. Love where you bank. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars a part of your routine, everybody. Enjoying this conversation with Connor Pay, and we'll finish it up here, Connor. You mentioned the fact that Utah's joining the conference. Now, you're a kid who grew up in the state. Your dad played for the Y. How big is the Utah rivalry to you personally?
I mean, it's always been a big deal, since I was a kid. Obviously, in coming to the games, a lot of those big games, in the mid 2000s, that were really exciting in Lavelle Edwards Stadium. I was there, and so I think the rivalry has always been a big deal. I mean, obviously, it wasn't the last 10 years or so. It hasn't been much of a rivalry. But I'm proud to say that I'm 1-0 against Utah, and I plan to keep it that way. And so I don't know. It's not, in my mind, it's not much of a rivalry either. I've never lost to them. So, but no, I think it'll be fun. And I think they like to ride their high horses a little bit. That they're only going to be in the conference for a few years before they go on to something bigger. Which congratulations. But I think it'll be a lot of fun, to have them in the conference. And I think the Holy War will take on new meaning, back almost like it was when we were both in the Mountain West. Where like those, a lot of times if you play late in the season, those games could mean a lot for what ends up happening to your team, and the stakes will be higher. Where it's like, I think in Independence, it's like, okay, we're playing Utah. Right, but it's only bragging rights against BYU and Utah fans or players. That's the only thing we're playing for. Now it's for something more, and so I think that's gonna add a little juice to it. And the rivalry might even be better in the future than I ever saw it. So,
is the rivalry as big amongst players inside the programs of BYU and Utah as it might be among fan bases? Because I know you see it on social media how these fans get after one another.
No, it's not even close. Not even close to what the fans portray it as. So,
all right.
That's just the truth. That's just the truth. It is. I mean, obviously, when we played them in 2021, it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to win that game really badly. But for us, there was obviously a little extra juice because it was Utah, right? Mm-hmm. But playing Baylor last year, that was way more juice than the Utah game. That was way more of like, okay, let's do this one. We want to get revenge on these guys for beating us the year before. And so I think, and a lot of the players on the University of Utah, especially if they're from Utah, we know them all. And, a lot of them are our friends. And so it's it's different, right? Because a lot of those guys are my friends up there, and I want them to succeed when they're not playing us. And so I think that kind of messes with the dynamic a little bit too. But I definitely think that the fans are a lot more intense about it, and they may not want to hear that, I guess. But trust me, we're getting fired up whenever we get the chance to play Utah. But the year-round back and forth banter on Twitter, it's that is not how it is. We're not thinking about Utah when we're not playing them that week, and they're not thinking about us. I guess sometimes they are. Because obviously coming to the Big 12 and having their conference fall apart, they're a little butthurt about that right now, it seems. And just what I've read from their comments and the clippings and stuff, and obviously, joining the conference with us, and us putting a good word in for them to join the conference, which they did not do for us when we wanted to join the Pac-12. So I mean, there's all kinds of drama and all this stuff going around, and for us, it's just like it's cool. We're glad. I mean, I don't know. It would have been fun to see them back in the Mountain West or something for a couple years, let them lick their wounds, and then bring them to the Big 12. But um, I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad they're coming. I think it's going to renew the rivalry a little bit. So maybe it'll make it more intense for us as players now that there's a conference championship on the line. Like, we need to beat these guys in order to get to our ultimate goal. And they're right up the road. Like, I think it's going to be a really good thing for the Holy War, honestly, being in the same conference again.
Well, I think you made the best point there is having extra stakes on it now again, like the opportunity, like potentially one of these teams or both of them potentially could go to a title game. You have that type of like incentive on this type of game. Yeah, that probably ups the ante, especially for you guys as players, I would imagine.
For sure. No doubt.
All right, Connor, I got a couple of questions before we wrap up here just about you personally. So I know our fans out there, our listeners and viewers here on YouTube, obviously, they know of you, but can you explain kind of the family dynamic? I think most people know that your dad was Gary, who played for the Niners, the NFL, also played for BYU, was a great offensive lineman. But what's the family dynamic and the Pay household like?
Yeah, so I have 3 siblings. I have an older sister who's a professional singer. She lives in Los Angeles, so she's there doing her music. You can look her up on Apple Music and Spotify. Her name's Mikkel. So her music is awesome, and so she's out there living her dream. And then there's me. Obviously I'm here playing at BYU right now, and like you said, my dad played here, and my parents. I guess to backtrack a little bit, my parents met at BYU. And they didn't get married till they were both done at BYU actually. But and then my dad, after the NFL, my dad came back and returned to law school at BYU. So got his law degree here, and he's been an attorney ever since. He's a corporate attorney. And then my mom early on was in the corporate world. She was working for New Skin. And then once they started having kids, she stayed home for the most part, and now she's helping Lone Peak run their athletics program through the boosters and raising money and organizing all those events. So that's kind of a little background on my parents and I guess what they're doing now. But then there's me. After my sister, there's me. And then I have a younger brother, Trevor, who's on mission in Alabama right now. So, but he's coming back to play football at BYU as well. So he'll join the team in this coming June.
Okay.
And then my youngest brother, Austin, who's just started his junior season at Lone Peak, he's another offensive lineman, and he's getting offered by pretty much everybody right now. So he could go pretty much wherever he wants. So, hopefully we'll see if we can get him here. But there's a lot of big names that are coming after him right now. So BYU's got their work cut out for him a little bit in that recruiting game. So that's kind of the Pay family right there. That's the 6 of us.
Now, I guess I'm just going to say this. Your sister's got all the talent, and if she's out being a professional singer and you guys just happen to be football players, right?
Yeah, for sure. She's the only professional anything in the family. I guess my dad's an attorney, technically, but he just passed a test. That's all he did, and they slapped attorney next to his name. And then my sister has to go out and shows every single week, and have to go and face the wrath of the LA media and all that stuff. So she's the only professional in our family. I will outright say it.
And by the way, any of our listeners / viewers, they actually had an opportunity earlier this week. On our Monday edition of the podcast, I had a one-on-one with Austin after that game against Corner Canyon on Friday. I had a great chat with him. So if you missed that, just rewind back to our Monday edition. You can hear from Austin himself. And he talks a lot about the recruiting process. He says there's a lot of big names, as Connor mentions about that. Now, Connor, you also, I learned this about you recently at practice. You walked out of practice one day, and I don't remember exactly what shirt you were wearing, but it was a metal band t-shirt. And you told me you're a metal.
Yes, I knew this was going to come up at some point. I was convinced. I am a metalhead for sure, and I'm not ashamed about it. I like all genres of music. You press shuffle on my phone, and it'll go from church hymns to heavy metal in a split second, and I like it all. I like it all. A lot of people don't. I'm sure you remember the viral TikTok from a year or two ago where every one of my teammates was giving me all kinds of crap that they should never give me the aux because I'm the only musically diverse person on the team. I don't listen to all the mainstream stuff. Right? I like it, but it's not everything. And so yes, but that is also because I play the drums.
Okay.
Would I call myself a drummer? Probably not. Maybe recreationally. But that's where my love for hard rock and heavy metal music began, is because those are some of the best drummers in the world. And so it's not like I'm into this, like, all this super screamo stuff. Like, that's not my favorite thing when they just start yelling at me during the song. But some of those drummers are incredible. And so that's kind of how I got into that music. And my dad raised me on that stuff. He's a huge Rush fan.
Okay.
And so, that's just, I guess I was kind of raised to be that way. But yeah, I am a little bit of a metalhead. I do love those bands. I think they're extremely talented, and it's not for everybody, and that's fine. All right, I'm sure I'll get a lot of crap for this on social media. I don't know how many DMs I got after that stupid TikTok asking me, like, man, your playlist must suck. Will you send it to me? It's like, why on earth are you? I don't even know who you are. You're like 14 years old. Why on earth are you DMing me asking for my playlist and telling me it sucks? Like, what is going on? But anyways, yes, I do love metal music, but I love all genres of music for the most part.
I cannot wait to. I want to see your one day. I want to get from like Motab to Rob Zombie for me. All right.
Oh, Rob Zombie's on the mild side.
Oh, I can believe that. Well, Connor, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. A debut episode in the books here. We will look forward to catching up with you each week throughout the season. Best of luck against Sam Houston State, and obviously moving forward as you get ready for officially Big 12 play in just a few weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun.
All right, that's Connor Pay. I'm Jay Catch. A big thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen today. Thank you once again for all of you who are everydayers with us here on the podcast. Until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day, and obviously we'll be back with you guys again soon. This has been the Locked On Cougars podcast. See ya.